Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordile. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change in your life. I'm here to guide you, inform you, and hopefully help you to triumph over trauma and the long list of symptoms that come along with it. This podcast series is to bring knowledge, share stories, and open up conversation around hope for those of you that suffer with the difficulties that present themselves in your life, from diagnosed or undiagnosed trauma. Labeled or not, I know you need help, and so do those that have graciously taken the time to have these conversations with me. So let's get to it. Hey, Change Gang! Welcome back to this series on trauma, PTSD, CPTSD, all the fun things. Gareth is back with me. Gareth Evans, the trauma specialist with Remaster Your Mind. And I want to say thank you so much for coming back and talking with me. We had a great conversation all around some of the basics on trauma and a little bit of your story and how that helped. And I wanted to come back and talk specifically with you, Gareth, around the military and the police and all of the first responders that are out there that are kind of taking the brunt of the world. Honestly, they do. And they put in situations where they don't get to feel or they don't get to deal with themselves the way that the rest of us kind of get to these days. Someone now says, I have ADHD or I have PTSD, and they can dive in and get the help that they need. But because of, I want to say, the stigma almost of PTSD or the issues that it can cause sometimes when you're in the military or in the police or in a situation, if you're labeled with that, it can cause some real issues in your work. Thanks for being here, Gareth, and we're going to dive deep into some stuff today. Are you good with that?
I'm brilliant, and thank you very much for having me back. I really appreciate you bringing me back, to be fair. What I'll jump in and say is I can speak on behalf of the military, although I'm sure that the first responders and the fire police service are all going to be somewhat similar. But as you said back the term on boot camp or basic training, it's very important to realize that if you as a soldier go sick, go ill, get something called a green chip or a green shield, we used to call it. It's a sick chip. It prevents you from doing things like drill or firing your weapon or going on guard because you're ill. And if you, during basic training, if you go ill, you are not seen as an effective soldier, and you're probably going to be back squatted. You have to redo a number of weeks before you catch up to the other soldiers. And it's a very, very big thing to be frowned upon. If you break your leg, it's understandable. Oh, you've broken your leg, you idiot. It's okay. But if you've got any other problems, I'm stressed, I'm this, I'm that, the stigma behind going forth and saying, I can't do this because of whatever reason, stays with you. And it stays with you for the amount of time you're with those other people for, because you're a solidified group of people. You're a body of men. And if one of those men aren't able to do their job properly, then you're a man down in a very efficient group, as I say. So the idea of going sick outweighs the idea of being a part of the cohort.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I actually have a family member who, as I've mentioned to you, I have a military family, and I had a family member who during his particular boot camp had a problem with his boots, and they were in a really particular part of the training where it was out in the field. And he still, this was a long time ago, 15, 20 years ago, a long time ago, but he still has problems and scars on his feet because he got so many blisters and it bled through and it caused sores and it went into his feet and caused problems, but he was not going to stop. I think he finally ended up getting a new pair of boots, which was like one of the biggest reliefs and best things like to him in the world. It was like getting the lottery to get a new pair of boots at that point. And that's a whole different concept of how you're living and how you're doing and how you're moving through something. So it's exactly like you just said. You deal with whatever it is, whatever pain it is, emotional, physical, whatever, you just block it and keep going. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, you need to have your mates back and your mate needs to have your back. If you go sick, then you're not there to look after your mate. And if your mate dies, you're going to carry that for the rest of your life. So if it's a case of your feet's bleeding and you need to get your blisters seen to for something physical, then you're just going to fight through. You're just going to push to the end until you can get it fixed at the end. Now, your mental health never ends, and your military career will only end when you sign off or when your time comes to an end. The idea of, for me personally, the idea of when I went to the doctors, because I did know, I spoke to them very quietly and softly and said, look, I've got this problem. And I didn't want to hear what they had to say. I just wanted to like, give me medication and I'm going to crack on. Or if this medication stops me from doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to take the medication.
Right.
Also, the stigma on top of, if any one of my chain of command believes that I am at this point weak, and I'm throwing the air thingies up at the moment, I know that mental health isn't weakness, but if my chain of command knew what was going on in my head, I would be deemed as weak, and it could affect my promotion. Why? I want to get to sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant major, and all these other different ranks, but the stigma behind, if I come forward and say I need help because of this, it's going to implement my military career.
Right.
So,
and that happens in not even in the promotions, but just in staying in the job you're in a lot of the military positions, especially that are classified, sensitive, things like that, or where you have to really be deployed or things like that, that comes into the play. And how do, as a military person, and I know you work with military people too, how do they view the words, the symbol PTSD?
We are changing times. That I would like to think that the stigma is taking its foot off the head, if you would. Yeah. So I think it's a lot safer now to say you've got a problem to a doctor and present the problem and then get it fixed or sorted so you can deploy. But people that I speak with now would much rather go privately and speak with me and work with me and then get the issue sorted without incorporating the military medical officers or getting anything written down, because I remember I was trying to go for special forces and I did not want the doctors writing anything on my paperwork, because I didn't want to go into the special air services and for them to say, oh, he's a lunatic already. We can't have him. He's too much of a chance of doing something silly or quitting or whatever that looked like, despite I was just so present with the idea of moving forward. I didn't want anything written up anywhere. So I found people that want to work with me on the hush-hush, which naturally is going to happen. And they don't want any of their military friends finding out or chain of command finding out. They've identified they've got a problem. They want it fixed. They get it fixed and they go straight back into it. And some of them refer other people. Others don't want to tell anybody that they've seen me. Therefore, they're not going to refer them, which is fine, which is absolutely great. As long as they can maintain their own career paths or military or whatever that looks like, any type of services, or where are we in the civilian world?
So how do you get them? How do you get the people who are really struggling, the people who have gone to the doctors, who have been on the medications, who are still suffering, who are still having problems, and who just think there's no other option? How do you get the information out to them or bring them in to let them know that it's safe and that you can help? How do you reach them?
Yodel, and yodel. And if you can't yodel some more. Everybody is listening. And I've got lots of military friends. And at the very start, I said, hey, military friends, come and join my group just to build up the numbers. I just want you in there just so when other people look at it, okay, I've not just got 5 people in there. I've not just got 100 people in there. I want to boost it up. Once they're in there, yodel, stand at the top of the mountain and scream what you do and how good it is. And then use testimonials with fake names. The true testimonials, but Andrew is now Steve. Brian is now Cleopatra. Whatever that looks like. It's just keep yodeling. Just beats down every single time. I know what you're going through. It doesn't mean you have to go through it too. Yeah, so that's all I would say. And some people, well, in fact, when I first started up a couple of years ago, in fact, when it was just the Xbox Series X come out, I dug into my own pocket and I bought a brand new one, and there was lots of scalpers out there and I got a terrible deal. But I gave it away to anyone in the any ex-services, maybe police, fire brigade, or first responders, military. And I said, all you need to do is just join my group. I gave them 5 tickets. You don't pay a penny. You don't pay a pound. You just get maximum 5 tickets. You could get a ticket by joining my group. You could get a ticket by just sitting in for a discovery call where I can just chat and say, hey, what's going on for you? You could get a ticket by referring some other people in just to hear me yodel. And that's in itself created a handful of clients. Those handful of clients paid off the Xbox.
I love that.
And I was able to give an Xbox away for Christmas.
That's wonderful. That's so cool. So in dealing with servicemen, the military men, and I think maybe oftentimes I also have a lot of police and things like that in my family as well. There's definitely, I want to say, a different kind of mindset. And you talked a little bit about that. Don't want to get help because you don't want it written down anywhere. You don't want any of this. Do you think also for the person itself, there's definitely control things that go on? And even in our last discussion, you said that you kind of faked being hypnotized for the first little while. And do you think any of that kind of has to do with trust and control? And in the military and in those first responder jobs, you have to have extreme control in what's going on. And with hypnosis, it is a little bit of letting go of that control. And do you think that's hard for those types of people? And I hate to say those types, but it is a different mentality of a way of being in the world. You can disagree and say it's something else. I'm open to whatever discussion. That's why we're here.
No, absolutely. What I'm thinking of is the word trust. It comes in different ways. Trusting somebody and trusting yourself. Oh, yeah. And if you're in again, I'm going back to this 4-man team. If you can trust every other one of those people to do their job, and they trust you to do your job, then that's fine. Then show me how you do your job, because I trust you. And if you can earn the trust of someone else, what you've got to say is just let go. For example, if you're in an ambush, if you're lying in an ambush waiting to kick off, you need to trust the guy in the far left on the kill zone to make sure that anyone in that area will be done. Just like if you're on the right-hand side, you're trusting them to do their job. So you've let go. You have let go. There's nothing there. You're concentrating on what you need to do, and you're allowing them to concentrate on what they need to do. There's no broad, you're not standing up and going, oh, you're doing your job, mate. If you're doing your job, that's great, because then I can do mine. But I'm not doing mine because I'm watching you doing your job. No. Yes. Going into hypnotherapy, there needs to be an element of letting go. But you'll only let go if you trust someone. And if you can earn someone's trust, then it comes easy. It comes really easy, because soldiers are used to trusting, and they're used to trusting themselves. It's a bit of a transition from allowing someone, as someone once said to me, to opening up your mind and going through all the bits and pieces. You don't really change. I do nothing for my clients apart from tell them words. And they can take those words, or they can tell me I'm talking absolute rubbish. But I will not make them do anything they don't want to do. If they want to get better, if they want to get out of this mindset, trust me, I can help you. If you are happy in this mindset and you find it's brilliant and you can take PTSD, as I said earlier on, with a medal on your shoulders, then go to the pub and tell everybody you got PTSD and refuse help. But don't tell people that you want help. Just be true to yourself.
Do you think there's a little bit of a fear factor that comes with that? They think somebody's kind of digging around in their mind that they're going to be judged or thought of differently in some way.
Yes and no. Yes. So every soldier's got their own story. Every person's got their own story. Okay. I don't only work with soldiers. I work with anybody who wants or needs help. Everybody's got their own story. And they're not going to want to divulge what they've seen or what they've done or what they've experienced because of the fear of just being judged or somebody just sort of passing comment. And that's where you need to be professional. I've worked with friends before, and I have in the past worked with some family. But just because I know what they've told me doesn't mean it's going to go to the other person. Right. Once again, it comes to trust. And if you can't tell me what you've done, then maybe tomorrow you will. Maybe tomorrow you can open up. I've done nasty, horrible things, and I felt guilty, and I felt angry, and I felt vulnerable. But if you bottle it up, it's going to be like a pressure cooker. Eventually, it's just going to pop. For example, if you go into the fridge and you open it up and you pull out the bottle of milk and it's empty, And you're just like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, wife or husband, or we can't just put milk back in, just put it back into the bin. No, I can't. I've just popped. That's the straw that broke the donkey's back. Who gives a shit about the milk? Gives a shit about the milk. But it's that pressure, the amount of stress building up in that pressure cooker. If you can't turn that nozzle, if you can't release some of that stress, then you're just going to pop. You're going to pop in ways that you're never going to realize, or the severity of the poppingness. Some people can go for runs. Some people can go to the gym. Some people can't. Some people can just get lost in the book. Some people can go to parties. Some people drink. Some people self-harm. Some people do all these different things to release some of that energy before they do pop. And what I would say is for those people that are feeling a bit vulnerable to let go, find something that's healthy to release some of that pressure before you can open up the door and say, hey, do you know what? Something happened to me and I'm not proud of it, but I need to get over it. And that's cool. That's when I'm happy to open that door for them.
Well, and I think one of the things in the way that I work, I'm not exactly sure, you can tell me in the way that you work, but one of the things that I think is great is that I don't have to know all of the details. If you want to share the things with me, that's great. I'm here to listen. I'm here to hear what you need to say, but you don't have to relive and regurgitate everything with me in order for me to help you. And I think that's something that oftentimes I know in some of the military people or even just like you said, other people, they don't want to necessarily sit and talk about everything again and again and again. And it's like, I don't want to say this again. I just need help. I just need to clear this up. And I think with hypnotherapy and some that, we're able to do that. Is that how you work as well?
Yeah, very, very similar. So I've got a few different packages. I've got a VIP package, a standard package, and a beta program. What I find is that many people can't afford therapy.
Right.
Because having PTSD usually means you've lost your job because you've punched your boss. Usually means you've not got a relationship because you've told your partner to piss off. Usually means because you're being so overwhelmed you can't cope or deal with a standard life. So you can't afford the high end stuff. What I do, my beta program or the beat retreat as we've known it, I have group therapy and it's very, very cheap and effective. So everybody has it for extremely low amounts. And you can share what you're saying, you're seeing, or you can keep it to yourself and just attend with your camera off, your mic off. Say nothing because it's all listening therapy. And then explain whatever you like or don't want in the group. Or I've got one-to-one sessions where we go into past memories and we speak about those past memories. But it's not about the event that's happened. It's about how you feel towards it. Because bear in mind, what I said in the last time with you, Laura, is if you and I are both in Afghanistan, we can both view different things and come out with a different perception. If someone walks up to you and puts a gun in your face and says, right, give me all your money, that could trouble you for the rest of your life. Somebody else might pull that gun on them and say, no, you give me your money. This isn't even a traumatic event. You just give me your money now. It's just something that happened on a Tuesday. So it doesn't matter what actually happened. It's how it's made you feel.
Yeah, it is. It is. Absolutely. And I think that's so important, that changing the way that we're thinking about things, changing the way that our mind works, changing the way that we have that subconscious programming that's in there that's been there since we were teeny, and maybe it's not doing the best service for us now. If we're dealing with programming from when we were 3, 4, 5 years old, we might need to update it a little bit. We might need to change that, clear some things out, add some things, and function a little bit better now. And I think people don't realize that. And the things that you do, the things that I do, help them to go in and change that programming and function at such a better level. One where you didn't even realize, oh my gosh, this is what it's like to be without that. This is what it's like to be in this world in a way that it's like taking or putting the glasses on and being able to see clearly again and just moving forward in a way that you didn't even realize was there, or you did, but you couldn't remember it very well.
Yeah.
And
do you remember that film Limitless?
I do, kinda. I do.
A guy takes a tablet. What you were just saying there reminds me of it really. He takes a tablet and the very first thing he does is cleans his apartment from top to bottom. It was a mess. Everything was everywhere. But the first thing, he doesn't go into stocks and shares, and he doesn't put all his money into racehorses, or it starts inwardly, cleaning out the house, cleaning out his apartment, making it spick and span. And with hypnotherapy, it's no pill. It's hypnotherapy. And what you do is you clean out your mind. It's like a closet, taking everything out, sweeping the floor, mopping the floor, cleaning off all the shelves, making it nice and clean and neat in order to move forward. Sorry, you just reminded me of that film there.
That's a great analogy. I love that. That's exactly true. And that's where you start. You start here. You start at home. You start in yourself. And when you can do that, then you can function. Then you can do all the amazing things that you really want to do in life. Even if that's go out and do the normal things. And that's an amazing thing when you have not been doing that. When you can't go outside, when you can't go into the crowd, when you can't have a normal conversation with the person that you love. And those are really hard things, and you don't understand why. You know there's something there, but you've done all the things. You've done the pills, you've done the talk therapy, you've done all those things, and it's still there. And so that's when you go in and hit the reset button. And take that pill and do the cleaning out and do all of those things. And I think that makes such a huge difference. So I love that you talked a little bit about doing that in a group setting and one-on-one and the different things that you offer. So do you run the groups pretty consistently, or are you just starting to do that? How's that working?
So I've done the first one. Actually, it's tonight is the 4th episode, 4 of 6. And the transformation so far have been amazing, unfathomable difference. So I've got someone with psychosis. In fact, I'm not going to explain because it's an active group, and I don't want everybody else in that group potentially knowing what somebody else has got. The group's going really, really well. Yeah. And I've got 2 sessions left with them. They're the next program. And I don't have it each session. I just have it one small amount of money for all 6 sessions. Because if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. And if you're put off from a price, then I don't want that. I would rather have 10,000 people who can only pay the smallest amount than have one person that can pay the full.
That's right. That's great. I love that because that's so important. That's the real you being out there trying to actually make a difference and do the thing that you can do to help. And you know that it helps. And even though you can't share about the active group, do you have someone that you have worked with that you really did see a turnaround and what that looked like? And do you have anyone that you'd want to share about? You don't have to share a name, just.
No, I can because I've been working with this lady. She's absolutely amazing. She's called Jo Chance or Chance. She's going to hate me for that. I can't remember her last name. I want to check my phone, but I'm not going to. She's just texted me today. Her transformation is amazing. So she's had MS. She'd come to me, a very broken woman, in tears every day. And she wasn't in a good place at all. And I remember she phoned me up and she was saying that she thinks she's psychotic. And she was not in a good place. And working with me throughout the time, as I said, she's had MS. She's been in a wheelchair bound for 10 years. She had a terrible relationship with members of her family. And now she's just, as I said, just texted me this morning. She's able to go aqua walking. So she's walking the full length of the swimming pool back and forth. She's standing up with a frame thing and taking a step. She's standing up by herself. And this is someone that the doctors gave up on. And they took away her funding for this because they genuinely believed that she was unfixable. I hope I'm saying the right things. And Jo, if you do listen to this, I'm rooting for you. She's an amazing woman. In fact, it might be worth firing her on here and just seeing what she's got to say about it all. She's just, wow. She blows my mind of how great and how far she's came. Crazy
what the mind can go in and help with and change and fix in our lives. It's just incredible to me. And wow, that's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Gareth. I so appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate all the conversation and your input and your knowledge and your viewpoint on the things. Thank you so much. You never know. I might just give you a call again and say, hey, let's talk some more, Gareth. Get a little addicted to the conversation part of it.
No, I get excited for these things. As I said when we was offline, I can talk for hours about mental health. You just need to rein me in because I'm just going to go on a tangent.
I love the tangents. I love it because it's so informative, and it brings up things that people need to be aware of and they need to know because, like you said, yodel. Get the information out. Talk about it. It's okay to want to know, and it's okay to share that you have something that can help. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm on remasteryourmind.co.uk. I'm in the on Facebook of Remaster Your Mind, my group, Remaster Your Mind, PTSD. I've got a phone number here. I'll give that to you at the end instead of me reading it out. I'm happy to chat. I'm happy to chat about mental health, how it's affecting you, or if it's how it's affecting a loved one, because that goes massively overseen of how it affects the person that's living with somebody with a problem.
Yeah, because that's a whole nother week. Okay, let's not get off on that one because we'll talk for another hour about that. But you're right. It doesn't only affect them. It affects everyone around them. And those people often don't really understand what's going on, how to help, what to do. And they're ending up in a trauma situation themselves, which then it just cascades and causes more issues. Thank you, Gareth. I'll put all that information in the show notes so that they absolutely can get in touch with you. And whether it's the one-on-one or the group program or just having a conversation with you, maybe joining the group online that you have, the Facebook group, something like that, to connect with people that understand what they're going through. I think that's so important. Thank you for being here, and we will chat again.
As always, the pleasure is absolutely mine. Thank you very much for having me here.
Have a great day.
I hope today's episode was interesting and helpful to you in some way. If so, find someone to share it with. Maybe it will help them too. If you'd like to know more about anything discussed here today, you can find all the places to connect with me and the guest speakers in the show notes. Or go to lauraordile.com, LauraOrdile.com, and you can reach out to me there. Until next time, ask when you need help, be kind to yourself, and have a happy day.